What's up, everybody? This is Two. You're listening to the White Belt Podcast, where I talk to other entrepreneurs, just people that I find interesting that are doing different things out there. Today, I'm with David. David is the owner of Overtime Tattoo. You're in Little Canada, correct?
Yep.
And so I reached out to you a couple weeks ago to try to get you on. I just really like your story. I think, at least in this podcast, is for everybody, but in the Hmong community too, we don't have too many tattoo artists. How many? Well, first, let's just start with just introduce yourself, who you are, where your shop's at, how long you've been in business, and then we'll dive into anything and everything.
Shit, let's see.
Hey, can you bring that mic a little closer? Yeah. That arm should be able to move towards you.
Is that cool?
Yeah, you just got to speak a little closer so it records.
Okay. Start my name, David Thao. I go by Westo.
Okay.
This is a nickname that, the homies call me by.
That you got.
Long story, though.
Okay.
So, but I've been tattooing for 6 years. Started my apprenticeship with Fong in 2017.
And Fong's over at Incarnate, right?
Yeah,
because Fong's the one that actually did all my pieces.
Yeah.
You got to have a good teacher there.
I know, man. Dope guy.
Yeah.
And shop-wise, ask about the shop.
Yeah. How long you been in? When did you open this? This is where we're at your shop right now.
Yeah,
so when did you open all this?
I did 2022 last year.
Okay, last
year. Yeah.
So not even has it even been a full year yet?
It has been actually. So I actually signed a lease in 21 December, and then just working the shop, building up the shop and stuff like that. And I didn't really get fully licensed until last year. So it took like a couple months.
And this is a nice spot. How long did it take you guys to get this whole thing put together?
Man, so I came here every day after every session, or almost every session. In the evening to come in with no lights, bro. There was no lights. There's no lights in the shop. The previous tenant took all her lights. So I came in with a ring light, and I worked with the ring light to get the paint done. I called my brother up, for him to come help me, my brother-in-law, my girl. So we kind of just worked in the dark after every session. For 3 months.
Oh, for 3 months. So from the time you signed your lease, it took 3 months of just getting all this ready. Because if you're watching this, you'll see just one side of the wall. But as I'm looking out, the shop actually is really cool. It's got a light gray kind of vinyl flooring with some hand painted kind of would you call that kind of graffiti artwork out there?
A mural, spray painted mural.
So it looks real good.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And so I've been here a few times. I got to check it out a little bit. So tell me about your shop, because like I said, there's not many times that I get to meet. Especially Hmong guys who are tattoo artists, right? It's kind of a one-of-a-kind type thing. There's not too many people doing this. Mm-hmm. How many people you got working with you over here nowadays? I
got Vinny, my apprentice.
Yep.
And then I also have guest artists.
Okay.
I like the vibe of guest artists coming by and stuff, because it kind of changes up the vibe every now and then, when it's just not just the regulars, right? So it's everybody's always coming in. So I like having guest artists, whether it be new artists or just any artists. I usually like to have, I want to have a couple numbers of artists in here too. But
yeah, how many? So right now I'm looking at, we got 3 chairs right now. Chairs, How many do you think you can fit in your shop here?
I want to go for at least 5, 6.
If
we could push this wall out, we could definitely do a little bit more. But I like the space. It's just enough for just artists. There's not enough. I feel like there's not enough space for being a creative artist, though.
Yeah, and we were talking about it last time too, right? Sometimes, let's say, we were talking about when people come get a tattoo, sometimes they come with a friend or whatever. So you kind of need a little. And I see you got a table on the far side over there where people can kind of chill and hang out. Yeah. How's it been with people coming in with their friends and stuff? Does it get a little bit overcrowded in here?
No, I think nowadays, how I see it, there's not a lot of people that comes in with a friend anymore.
Yep.
Usually it's just a one-on-one interaction now. Not a lot of people come, if they do, there's minimal spots. I usually have them pull up a chair and sit next to them and stuff like that. But not a lot of people show up with like an extra person.
Yeah, I'm assuming not many people want to come sit with their friend and watch their friend for like 5-6 hours at a time.
A whole day. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a lot, but like the space wise though, it'd be nice to have a bigger space.
Just yeah. But you gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's gotta start somewhere.
Exactly.
When did you get your first tattoo? Let's talk about that because you're a tattoo artist. So when did you get your first tattoo? Like how old were you when you got your first? And was it done by a professional or was it done in the basement of somebody's crib?
It was in the basement. It's like I feel like that's how everyone starts out.
Yeah.
But I got my first when I was like 13.
Yeah,
12
when you're 13, huh?
Something like that. It was around 12, 13.
Did you hide it from your parents and shit like that?
I tried, bro. But my brother, I remember hopping out the showers, forgetting about it.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I had the towel on my waist. And then, like, you know, I got my first tattoo up here.
On your arm?
So, like, it's easy to hide if you were, like, wearing a short sleeve and stuff like that. But, yeah, I got out the showers. I forgot about it. And then my mom eventually saw it. And then, like, I don't know. I can't remember if I got in trouble. I'm sure I did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, like, because my mom was the first one to see it. So, you know, she was just like, oh, you know.
Yeah. And so when you get your first one at 13, and then after that, do you get a whole bunch right away? Or do you wait till you're like 18, a little bit older, and then you start getting some more?
It slowly like became a thing because people say tattoos are addicting, and it is, bro.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
I get you get the first one, you're like, oh, that was nothing. Let me get another one, and then so I got another one, and then eventually it became like, it just became like, oh, space. Like I'm gonna fill up this space, and then
Are you tatted up? So, I mean, obviously, we can see your sleeves. We can see you got a neck, you got a face, you got your legs too, chest, back, everything.
Yep. So my first tattoo was up here, and then
what's that one? What's that one about?
It was
if you even want to talk about it, I see. I think a lot of Hmong people back in the days had those letters like that.
We did it with like the homemade machine with the guitar string, and then
It didn't get infected though. Everything was cool. It didn't get infected.
I mean, I didn't. No one taught us how to, take care of a tattoo, right? So, I mean, they just like put Vaseline on and just keep it moist. So I'm like, okay. I slapped on Vaseline like crazy.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I think back in the day when like our tattoos were healing, it wasn't. I don't think it like healed properly, bro. Like I think it was just like, oh, this is what's supposed to happen. Like, But now that I think about it, I don't even think. I think it did get infected, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But, the healing process was okay. Like I thought everything was normal until like I got into the professional scene and like, oh, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that.
Right. Well, eventually you own your business and you got to learn how to tell people what to do correctly, right?
Yeah. Plus, from experience too, it's easier to tell people.
How it heals. Plus, I'm sure it heals a little bit differently. Well. Everybody's got different ways of. Everybody heals a little bit differently, right? I mean, for me personally, tattoos have always been pretty easy. Like within a couple of days, it starts to shed off the skin, and then it's itchy, and then within a week, usually a week, 2 weeks, I'm pretty good. Like for me, it's pretty painless, But I'm sure for some people, it's a lot worse.
It is. People like everybody has different types of skin. Because one person could, like, for their job or their career, they could be spending a lot of time outside. So their skin is totally different from someone who doesn't spend a lot of time outside. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got people that's have like much more drier skin, so that takes a lot more time to heal compared to someone who doesn't have drier skin, who the skin just heals a lot better. Or faster.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to like your chronological order of your tats. So you 13, your first one on your right shoulder, and then it just kind of starts piling up. Now, who you getting tatted from? Is it just friends at the time? Are you starting to hit up? Because you can't hit a shop until you're 18, right?
Yeah. Crazy stories, but I got my first tattoo from a friend, and then after that, it was just a bunch of tattoos from like the homies back in the day too. And like they were in gangs and stuff like that. So, like I got a bunch of, gang tattoos and stuff like that too. And then I eventually though, I think like when I was like 16 or 17, after like I got a bunch already, like I had this one, I had my fingers done, I had my forearm done, and then I had like my whole lower arm done. And then at like 16 or 17, I actually found this program. It's called a Get Out program at the YMCA, or no, Boys and Girls Club. And There was it was actually a Hmong guy. I can't remember his name, but he was running the program, and I signed up, and then over time we would go do community service.
Yeah.
And with that community service, they would take us out to the clinic to get our tattoos removed, and that's how.
Oh, really?
And that I actually got my tattoos removed when I was like 16, 17.
So this is like early
It was
2006 or 7. I'm not.
I can't remember, but we were on the news at one point. The newscast came through and like did that for us, and then they also featured us on like the Hmong Times, because I was underage too. Like they blurred out my face and stuff like that, so they didn't like do any part with me and stuff. But
so the article was against tattoos.
It wasn't against tattoos. It was just talking about how that program like helped kids who were like involved in gangs.
Yeah, made some mistakes or whatever.
So like there was a lot of the kids around my age too, like 16. Some were older too, but they were all we were all just kids trying to get rid of our old tattoos. Pretty much, I used that as an opportunity to get rid of a lot of my tattoos.
Yeah. Did you have a lot that you get rid of then?
Yeah, I got like rid of everything.
Oh, really?
I got rid of everything that I got done, like homemade. The crazy thing is though, I got rid of it, and then I got some more home tattoos. Yeah,
the landscape was clean again. Yeah, you got a fresh landscape.
It was just a little better because at that point I started doing it on my own.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, so yeah.
So who taught you initially? So obviously you're getting tatted by people. You can. I'm sure you look at it and you're like, "Dang, I could probably do that." Were you always like Did you always consider yourself? Were you always like the kid that always was drawing type stuff? Were you that kind of person?
Yeah. I used to. I used to draw like a lot when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My uncle showed me how to draw one time, or he didn't even show me how to draw. I think I just seen him draw.
Yeah.
And then at that point I was like, man, like whatever he drew, like whatever I wanted, he drew, right? And I'm just like, bro, that's tight. Like how it was like magic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like holy.
I mean, it's a talent. It truly is a talent, man.
So I just showed interest in it from since then, from as long as I can remember, pretty much.
Yeah. So you started drawing, then you started. How old were you when you gave your first tattoo to somebody else?
I think after I got my first one, that was when like I was like, I want to do this too.
Yeah. Did you do it with? Did somebody already have like kind of the tools so that you were able to do it with that, or did you do it like ghetto style?
It was everything was just ghetto. My brother came. My brother had like a machine like he brought home one day.
Yeah.
And it was like in his shoebox. So I opened it up. And like I looked and I'm like, I'm studying like how everything was like made, like or like how everything was built. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, holy, like, okay, there's this motor. I'm like, oh, I could get a motor like that because I got a toy car.
Yeah.
And from a toy car, like if I open it up, you can see.
Oh, you built it like that. That sounds like a prison rig.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And then like, oh, there's a motor, so I'm gonna do that. I took that out, and then I'm like, okay, how do we get power? You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, I'm looking at like how it's rigged up, and they just cut one little like just any power cord that you could find. If you cut it up, there's a negative, there's a power, there's a negative, right? So I'm like, oh, there's a negative and a power side on the motor too. So I'm like rigging it up.
Because I think the ones like I've not been to prison, but I've seen documentaries. Because all you need is a needle that can carry some ink at the end of the tip, and then a motor that swings an arm up and down.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, right? Because that's kind of what your tools now. That's what they are, right? Basically, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so you get into that. So you give like how long you go about giving pieces to people like here and there before you actually get into a shop, or like really consider like, hey man, I might take this path towards like actually being a tattoo artist. Yeah, like
it. I mean, it took a while, cause since when I started, like since when I found interest and I started doing it, it wasn't like I looked into doing it so much, because like I think just being in our position where we're at, you don't find any sense of like, oh, this is what I could do, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, oh yeah, there's no possibilities for me to be a tattoo artist or to be in that field. So I'm like, even if I wanted to do it, it wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and you probably don't even know how to get started. It's probably you probably don't have like a cousin or something that's already doing it.
It was
and
like
can
no
kind of show you the guide, can show you the path. Yeah.
So it was like damn, like so it took a while. Like when people asked me for tattoos, it was either like if I felt comfortable doing it or not, I'll do it. Like I wasn't like trying to find people to tattoo, you know, because I'm young. Like I'm still trying to enjoy, you know, life and shit.
Yeah. You haven't committed to the idea like this is the path. Like you're not like here, right? You haven't built a shop and thought about it on the business side, right?
But every time I did do one though, I always thought it was dope.
I
always thought I was like, that's tight.
That's the thing with tattoos, right? Every time you do a piece on somebody, I mean, I know me, every time I get tatted, it's always cool. Like I always look at it, I go home, I stare at it. You know, you forget about it after a couple months, or every now and then you stare at it. But as soon as you go home for like the first week or two, you're checking out yourself in the mirror all the time. And it is art pieces. To the people who've not been tatted, they probably wouldn't get it. But to the people who've been tatted before, it usually one leads to another. And then it's kind of like, for me, it's always how comfortable am I with how far I want to go, right? Like, do I want to get to my, like for example, right now I got one going down my arm, but my next step is, do I go to my hand? You know, do I go to my hand? Because I actually think it looks really good.
Yeah.
And I actually have a job where I could do it because I'm my own boss. But it's still a thing where like, oh man, I'm gonna wait on it. You know,
that's the hardest decision. Is just. Like, when do I stop?
Yeah. I mean, you've already proven that they can't be removed. So maybe you can just keep going and then just delete it.
Yeah, start over.
Yeah. Now, when you get the removal, did it clean it up? It gets rid of it completely. I've seen people do it a little bit. Like it seems like it gets lighter and lighter, right, through each step.
I think it's the way the tattoo is applied before. Like, I think it's like depends on how deep. The pigment went into your skin too. Because when I got mine removed, it was like, you know, done ghetto, and like we didn't know about the layers of how deep your skin. The
different epidural layers of your skin.
As soon as the needle hits your skin, that's good enough. You know what I'm saying? So it's like no matter how deep, as long as it's in there. So when I got mine removed, I got scars like keloids and stuff like that. And it did start disappearing though, like the smaller layers of ink that like didn't penetrate too deep, they started disappearing. The layers that were penetrated too deep, they actually started like having scars, like keloid scars. They would push up the
ink back out,
but it would create scars. So I got scars from that, and then I mean, because I got scars from that, I just tattooed over it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So you get your tats, you get keloids, you learn your lesson from the first batch of poorly made tattoos, and you get some more. So then you say you tat a whole bunch kind of on your own, and then did the word kind of get around with the homies and the friends that hey,
for sure,
David is tattooing now?
Yeah.
Call him up, hit him up, go to his basement?
Yeah. It was, it was, like, to be honest, too, like, I can't remember much, too, you know, like, like when I see people show up with like the tattoos that I've done, then I remember it. But because it's so far back, it's kind of like a blur. Like, but every time I do see, I'm like, don't tell nobody I did that.
You know, it's
funny.
It is.
It's funny though, but it's like love that like people show. Like it's just like, oh, remember you doing this one? I'm like, yeah.
Because the thing is, when you're getting tatted, the artist probably forgets because he's got so many people. It's just like me at my job, right? I see so many clients, you forget it. And I always feel bad because I forget people's names.
For sure.
But you just cross so many people, and there's so many pieces, and a piece to an individual is super unique, right? It's like it means something. Well, most of the time, probably. Sometimes it probably don't mean much, but usually it means something.
It usually does.
Yeah,
because it's part of the conversations that you have.
Right? Why'd you get? What do you want to get? Why? Yeah.
So those are. Like every piece is pretty much memorable when you have like a connection of like conversations with people and stuff like that. Like even like some of the old tattoos that I've done, I'm like, oh shoot, like I remember that time, or like I remember during that time. Like even if it's not my tattoo, when I see it, I'm like, I remember that. Like, or I remember what I was doing during that time too. It's crazy.
Yeah, and so then so like around what time frame you start to like, and first of all, actually, who showed you, or what made you decide like, I think I'm going to take this to the next step? Like, did you find somebody that kind of did it and then you're like, man, I think I could do that too? Or were you just like, you know, I'm going to look into how to do this legit? Like, was there a person or was it just you?
Nah, first, like, I mean, you know, first of all, I didn't know nobody until I came across, like, Fong.
Yep.
You know, and Fong, looking into Fong, I didn't like really know him as much, or like not at all. Actually, not
Did you
at all.
get tatted by him, or you just kind
No,
of?
so I eventually just messaged him.
Oh, okay.
I eventually like was, like a lot of people talked about his work. I looked into his work. I'm like, man, ain't he's Hmong too,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I gotta just try. Found out like he opened his shop.
Yep.
Found out he opened the shop.
This was on Suburban. Was that the first shop in Suburban over there off the
it
east
was
side?
when he opened up Incarnate in North St. Paul.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't even
So
know him.
after.
I didn't even know about him up until then.
Yeah, because
to
when
be
I got
honest.
my first tattoo from Fong, shout out to Fong. It was
Hell yeah.
it was over there off Suburban, right off on the east side there,
Yeah,
right off
yeah.
94.
Yep,
So you
yep.
met him when he moved his shop over by that doggy daycare or something
Yeah,
like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
so you met him, you hit him up. What's the conversation like? Is just like, hey, yo, let me.
I don't think I did it like so professionally,
Yeah,
because at that point in my life, it was just I was nervous, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
because I'm taking this step where like it made me feel uncomfortable,
Right,
like
right.
I'm like doubting myself too,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I feel like I just wasn't like anybody to be like asking things like this
Yeah.
from a person, right? And I don't like to ask, so
Yeah.
but I was like, you know what? I'm at a point in my life where either I do this now or it's never gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
So, and then up to that point where like I wrote him a message because he opened the shop up and I'm like, this might be a good opportunity. So I sent a message and he didn't reply back to me until like maybe like 2 weeks after
Yeah.
that. And then so within that like time period of me just waiting, right, I'm like, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, it's cool. Like if it don't happen, it's cool. I'll find another way, or
Yep.
I'll go about it a different way, or just work harder or something like that.
Yeah.
Figure that out. But he eventually messaged me and he asked about a portfolio.
Yeah.
And at the time, like I did do.
Were you recording all the stuff that you had done? Like, were you taking pictures, snapping everything that you had done already, or not really?
I wish I was more prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
But I wasn't too,
Right.
because I did do my research, but I didn't fully do my research as much. Like as far as like I knew like that I had to have a portfolio, and I had to have something to show for it, and I knew that showing like a professional artist tattoo work wasn't gonna really cut it, like because they don't really want to see that, like they want to see what you're about, what your art skills and stuff
Right.
like that. So when he told me like, hey, you got a portfolio, and I'm like, I don't, but like I could get to it like right now, like
Yeah,
I could get to it, like I could get you a portfolio, like when we meet. And he gave me a date, and it's like, all right, we'll have a
Okay,
meeting.
so he put you a little pressure, a little
Yeah,
time, like, hey,
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's good that he did that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, because I
yeah.
assume now, like, let's say I was trying to become a tattoo artist and I hit you up and I'm like, hey, yo, I
Yeah.
want to learn how to tat. You're probably going to say the same thing, which you probably learned from Fong as well, right? He kind of show you the example of like,
Yeah.
all right, let me ask this dude if he's got a portfolio first.
yeah.
Let me see if he's
That's-
done anything.
Yeah, man. I take everything that I've learned as far as like the experience from
Yeah.
him too, like to my own shop, to how I apprentice and everything else too. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But yeah, from that point, it was grind time, bro. Like I was maybe drawing, but like I wasn't, because there wasn't no purpose, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there wasn't no purpose for me to get this portfolio together, because he replied back and because he was like, I'll meet you here, I'll meet you there. That was when I was like, okay, I gotta get this portfolio.
Did he invite you into your shop then? So how does that work, right? You show him some pictures. So I'm guessing you went around, grabbed some pictures of all the art that you've
Yeah.
done, or hit up some people like, yo,
Yeah.
take a pic of like some of the things that I've done.
It wasn't. I didn't show him no tattoos.
Oh, really?
I showed him all the drawings.
The drawings, I got you.
I think it was about maybe 2 or 3 weeks time frame. I think, and within that time frame, I used to valet before.
Okay.
I was a valet before I started tattooing,
Okay.
right? So that was the transition. But I had a lot of downtime. See?
Yeah.
So because I had a lot of downtime, I was spending a lot of my time in this like 4'3" booth. that
While
I-
you're doing valet work?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So like
while you're at
every
work?
time, yep. So like every time, like I wasn't parking cars, or like I had a lot of downtime. Yeah, I was just only busy in the mornings and towards the evening when you know
Yeah.
people are getting off and stuff. So like I had a lot of downtime to draw. So I had the sketchbook with me, and and I would just be in that little booth 3 floors down in the basement, and just drawing, bro. Like just trying to get this next drawing done, just get to the next drawing done. Because I seen Fawn do a lot of portraits and stuff. So, and that's what I grew up kind of drawing too, just kind of drawing and seeing, like, draw what I see. Like realism stuff. So, like, a lot of that was just referencing and just drawing things. And then so I built up this portfolio that I wish I built up more, but with the time frame and with drawing and stuff like that, it took a lot of time.
Yeah, and sometimes somebody's got to show you or tell you that, like, you don't just automatically understand that you have to have a portfolio to showcase some of the stuff that you've done. Sometimes you just do the work and then you think that that's good enough. But in reality, if it's not recorded, and I tell people this all the time who want to start a business or whatever they do, if you don't record it, man, it never happens. You know, it never happened. If I can't see your work, then it's all just hearsay. You know, you're just talking.
Yeah, that's the tough part. But yeah, man. So I mean, that was how I got my portfolio together, and then I met him.
Okay.
And that was when, you know, I handed him the portfolio, and you know that man don't talk. So like, when you give him something,
you try to read his face, read his facial expressions.
He doesn't say anything. So you know, you kind of just sit there with like, man, what is this dude talking? Or like, what is he thinking?
Yeah,
what is he thinking about? You know, so I was nervous, man. Like I was nervous because I felt like almost like my future was like I'm letting this dude kind of like criticize my artwork and really like see if I'm capable too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how I saw everything at that point. Like it was either that or go back to like what I was doing and start over, you know? So that was a critical point in my life where either I be upfront and be honest with like, I think the conversations that me and him had, or, you know, just not at all, you know what I'm saying? So it was, I think it was a crazy moment.
So must have, so you show him the pieces and then he must see something in there, right? Because did you just go home that night and he's like, I'll hit you up? Or was it like, okay, this looks good, we could probably do something?
It was a little bit of both, man. Like, I think back to it and I was nervous, man. Like I was nervous. So because, you know, I want to take this serious, you know what I'm saying? So I was nervous. I know, you know, he did mention about, you know, like coming back and stuff like that. And so that kind of reassured me with like, okay, like I already got like, because I did this, I'm already, you know, one step ahead of like what I got to do and stuff like that, like one foot in the door or almost, right? So that was like the turning point of like, okay, I gotta, this is serious now, you know what I'm saying? Like this is serious now. Like this ain't just like, oh, I'm gonna try. Like, no, I already tried. Now I can just, like this career or like this life is now just like right here now.
It's gonna start. It's
like right here. I just gotta make sure that I take it and run with it, you know? So
So then did he invite you did he then invite you to come in and do a few pieces with him? And I'm guessing you didn't have any of the professional side, right? So you didn't. You're like, I have done them, but I don't really know what the setting is like inside a shop and how you talk, how you behave inside a shop.
So that was the first time I was ever in the tattoo shop, right? Like, so the environment's different, everything's different. He did have me come in after maybe like a week or so. I can't remember how long apart from the day I met him at the shop, from that like interview, I guess you want to call it, to the day that I did step in there to kind of hang out and stuff like that. But it was I came in and just hung out. Like he pretty much just told me that, you know, like come around, hang around and see how you know, like how you vibe with like the rest of the crew or like the artists, because you know,
because he's already got a staff full at that time.
Yep.
Which is even more intimidating, right? Because you're a brand new guy, you know yourself that you've never been in a shop. And you come through and everybody. It's like any job. When you start a new job and then you see people already doing it, to you, those people are like, oh, that's a pro. That's a real tattoo artist. He's making money and stuff already. Man, how's he gonna receive me? You know, are they gonna be cool? Are they gonna?
Yeah, I was nervous, man. I was nervous because you don't know what they think. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah,
like,
you
who's
don't.
this new guy? Like,
You really
he's young
don't.
too. He
Yeah.
like, what does he? You know, like, what does he bring?
Did you already have a bunch of pieces on yourself by the time you showed up? Okay.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but you know, they're not like professionally done. So like, when you come into an environment like that, it's kind of it's weird. But,
yeah.
you know, I think for the most part though, every artist tattoo artist, I think they have almost like the same type of backstory though when it comes to like homemade tattoos.
Yeah.
So I think we all can relate.
I've heard it many times. I know that. You know, I'm not gonna dive into Fong's story, but I know that for sure that's how he started with him as well.
Yep.
And it sounds like it starts like that for a lot of people. Because when you do it at first, it's just for the art, right? You're just doing it because you like it. It's tight.
Yep.
And then eventually, if you go further into it, then you realize, like, okay, how do I actually get this going?
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. That's cool. So Fong gets you in. You start doing a couple pieces for him. And that's over in North St. Paul. And so you just do a couple, and then and then he offers you a rental spot, or?
No, not even. Like, okay, so I don't, the first, I want to say like the first month, I wasn't even doing much, bro, because the apprenticeship wasn't really promised, I guess, because we didn't speak about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it was just kind of like, I just got to show up. So, and the vibe, like, you know, he doesn't talk much, so you can't really tell like
you
what
don't
he
know
means,
where it's going,
what he means. But you know, respect to that though, because it really made me think though. You know, like it really made me like wonder like, am I doing enough?
Yeah, do I gotta prove myself more?
Yeah. So like, it helped me though, because it helped me like, you know, pretty much just make sure like I'm coming.
You're coming correct.
And I'm like doing something, because if I'm not doing anything, he doesn't even say anything if I am doing anything or anything at all. You know what I'm saying?
It's up to you to be like, hey, dude, go Fong, check it out. I just did some new drawings. Peep it. What you think?
Yeah. So, because the first couple of weeks, I know I came part time. You know, he mentioned to me that you got to come full time, because full time you get a lot more experience from beginning the day to the end of the day. So I get it, but you know, I'm still working, still trying to pay bills.
You still got your job.
But yeah, back to like coming in the first couple of weeks, I didn't do much besides just kind of like watching, trying to like do small talk with the artists, and then just you know, while they're busy, I mean, obviously I'll just sit around and just draw, you know. So I did that for a while, and then one day he was just like, you know, come back. And he pointed to the chair, like the empty chair, and he's like, you could take that spot. So I'm like, I don't know what that means, but at the same time,
do you mean like, I got a job? I got to pay you? What's it mean?
Yeah. So like, he was just like, you can take that spot. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, you know, I go back home, tell my girl, I'm like, she's phone just said, you know, like, I got a chair or whatever. So that got me hyped, man. Like, that got me super hyped. I didn't tattoo until I did all the requirements that the state required us to have or to do, you know.
Yeah, like, and what is that? Just to run it quickly, because I'm sure most people got tatted, but they never asked like, hey, what you actually got to do to be able to tat?
The bloodborne, so it's all, you know, just contaminations and, you know, like the safety of like the area that you're tattooing and all that stuff, and then also your mentor or whoever's supervising you has to, like, you and your mentor have to apply for the state license. It's a temporary license, but you can use that temporary license to be able to tattoo in the shop, you know. So without those two things, you won't be able to tattoo. So I didn't have that until I ended up like applying for that, which was, I can't remember, but a couple weeks after that, or like maybe a month or so after that, I can't remember, but yeah, so we had to do all that before I could even tattoo. So is it just an application you put in, or is there a class too? It's
an
application.
It's an application. It's really just an application. You throw it in, and
the bloodborne though, you had to take like a quiz, like you have to read and do a quiz. So we have that too.
Is it hard?
Not really. The first time you do it, it's hard because it's all new information. It's all information about, you know, like HIV, like just.
Do you have to? Do they give you a booklet or something to study off of?
It's like an online course.
Oh, it's an online
it's
course.
like an online course. So
pretty quick. Like, how much time you need to like?
It's a 5-hour course.
It's a 5-hour course.
But if you could read through that, and I took notes down for the first time because it was I didn't know it a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm taking notes, and then like at the end, you just do the quiz, and I'm not good with tests and stuff too, so it makes me nervous every time. But
can you do you pay and then take it, or you take it and then you pay if you pass?
You just pay it. You pay it first, and then you get it. You get a couple chances.
Okay, you get a couple chances.
Yeah.
How many times did it take you?
Just one time.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I
took it
That's
serious.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you already had a chair and everything, so if you didn't take it seriously, your phone would have been like, "Hey, man, what the hell, dude? I offered you a spot already."
You gotta take it serious.
No, you do. As much as we want to do our own thing, that there are some step processes in place. Any job that you do, there's some parts of it where I think people don't notice a lot is you do have to take. If you want to take it places, you have to take certain things serious, even though, like even in my world, working on cars, I mean, it is serious. I get to work on people's cars, and they're expensive cars.
Yeah.
I try to keep a real chill vibe at the shop with my team and everything, but at the end of the day, to keep it going and to make it as successful as it can be, you do got to lean into your serious side.
Yeah, you do.
You do got to lean into. You can't just be
it's
all.
What you do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's what people are going to know you for, and not just that, but when you're asking people for money, the minute you start asking people for money,
there's expectations.
It's not the same. Exactly, it's not the same. You can't be failing and shit like that.
Yeah.
All right, so you take your test. Now you got a chair, so you're pretty much like now you're a tattoo artist, right?
Yeah.
Now you got a
yeah.
And talk about the first few tats that you do, right? Because my cousin's in here too, by the way. Yeah. He's your apprentice right now, right?
Vinny.
So when
Vinny
you're
Vinci.
new, shout out to Vinny. What's your Instagram here so I can put it out there for the people? Vinny Vinci.
Vinny Vinci.
He's on our Instagram. He's a new tattoo artist under the tutelage of David. And so when you're new, your first few pieces, how long would you say it's, how many, let's put a number on the number of pieces individually. How many pieces before you're like, okay, I kind of got the hang of how to do this?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot, bro. Because there's so many things that you have to learn. You know what I'm saying? Like from small tattoos to big tattoos to skin types to
right.
you know, like,
and where it's going.
Where it's going.
You got to be able to adjust it for people.
Yeah. Because most of the times you see tattoos and it's just slapped on, right? Like you just see it, you don't understand the concept, right? And the concept is important because it has to flow with the body and stuff like that. And I didn't learn that stuff until like later on, you know, because it was more so just trying to be repetitive and like get tattoos for the experience.
Get some ink in there. On some,
so
bodies.
It took a lot. 200 hours is the requirements, but
before you can
like be fully licensed, you know.
Before you can fully license, okay.
Mm-hmm. But it took me a lot. My first tattoo, if you want to talk about that,
was it a small piece, big piece,
or my first paid?
Yeah, your first paid tattoo.
It was a walk-in. So prior to that, like I've been, you know, as an apprentice, you know, like I do, you know, like clean the shop up, or like I clean the artists' stations up and stuff like that. I help them with the stencils. So I've done a lot of that, right? Like I've done a lot of that prior to my first walk-in paid tattoo.
Yeah.
And then that day, it was like a weekend. It was Friday or Saturday, so it's a lot busier, right? And there was a walk-in that came in. She came in and she wanted like this dime-sized teacup, right? And so like they come in and Fawn's like, you're gonna do it. So I'm like, oh, okay, like I got it, you know?
Yeah.
I got it. And then so like from the beginning process, I was so nervous that I forgot how to do everything.
Yeah.
Because I was like, holy, like they're paying for this now. Like they don't even know that I just started.
Because the process is roughly like you got to get the image, you get the stencil, you wipe it, you get them signed in. Yeah.
So I forgot.
There's a process.
I was nervous, man. I was walking around just like I'm trying to ask questions, but they all seem busy. And I don't want to ask questions. You don't want to,
right? You want to seem like you don't know what the hell you're doing.
So like I'm like, how do I stencil this? So like I just like, you know what? I'm just gonna ask one real quick. Hey, how could I do this? Like just stencil it. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I ended up doing it. And this like dime sized teacup that I put on her ankle took me like 30 minutes. Like I was nervous. She was watching me too, so I was way more nervous.
Well, that's the thing with tattooing. Like, it's personal.
It is. Yeah.
It's very personal.
Yeah.
When you tattoo me, some people are probably gonna talk. I usually talk to my artists. I try to make it comfortable for both parties.
Yep. That's right.
But yeah, it's personal. You're sitting there with that person. It could be, like you said, half an hour. It could be a couple hours. It could be a couple days, couple weeks. I can only imagine that when you're nervous, you're new, it's your first paid gig. You know you're going to get paid. Therefore, it's got to have a certain standard.
Yeah, it is.
And you're trying to not make it seem to this girl like, hey, did you say like, yo, I'm kind of new, or you just went for it?
Man,
just act the part?
I was the nervous wreck, bro. I don't even know.
You don't remember? Yeah.
I try to block it out. I try to block it out, bro. But I just remember just tattooing and like just not trying to look up or like, just like
don't make eye contact.
You gotta get this right and stuff like that. It took forever, but I did it. And after that, I kind of laughed it off because I was like, man, I can't believe I totally forgot how to.
The little things.
Yeah, how to just function, bro. Like how to be an artist.
Yeah, how to be a human being in the moment.
But because of that, though, I was able to kind of like confront like my nervousness. Like I was like, man, how can I? What can I do to not feel this way?
Right.
Like, or and then so I started like kind of like just hyping myself up, or like just talking to myself, like telling myself like, bro, like this is what you do, man. Like, you gotta just do it. Like, don't be afraid. Like, this is, like you're here now. Like, you sacrifice so much to do what you're doing. Like,
and you wanted to be in that spot.
Yeah, and so like, why are you nervous for? Why are you nervous for? So I mean, that helped me get through, I guess, every
the beginning,
like every tattoo that comes in the doors. Sometimes, some people don't talk to you.
Yeah.
Like as an artist, I try to break the ice somehow, right? With like all my clients, right? But sometimes they come in, they don't talk, so it's intimidating almost too. So where like I do still get nervous.
Because you always feel like when people don't talk, you feel like they're thinking in their head like all kinds of crazy things, right? Even though they're probably thinking about what they're gonna do after their tattoo or whatever, but in your head you're like, shit, man, he's probably paying attention to my lines. He forgot to wipe.
When I finish a tattoo, right, and I'm like, go check it out in the mirror, and then and then they go up there and they're looking and they don't say nothing. I'm like, damn,
you don't know how you did, you want that confirmation,
because I'd be like, oh man, it's not up to like how they like it, but sometimes you just gotta understand some people just don't show emotions like that, and if you know that you put in your all when you do this tattoo, it's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good too.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's important to talk about too, because that is true, right?
Yeah.
To feel confident in something that you do, first of all, it ain't never gonna happen at the beginning. It doesn't matter, right? When everybody feels the same. We're all just human beings. We all feel the same way. When you're new, you got a bunch of self-doubt. You're nervous. People don't give you feedback. You don't know how you did. You're like so nervous, you don't even want to ask people, hey, how is it? What's it look like? Because you're so afraid that they're going to say something like, oh, man, I was expecting some way different, But you're right. But eventually that goes away through just reps, right?
Yeah, it does.
So how many, like after a year, how many years before you were like, okay, I'm pretty confident when I walk in. I'm confident when I walk in the shop. I'm confident when I consult with a client. I'm confident when I draw a piece.
Yeah.
Like, how long did it take you before you feel like, man, I'm a legit tattoo artist. I know what I'm doing.
I want to say the same year I started, just because it's not because like I'm like, oh, I'm good or anything like that. I think it was just because I had Fawn with me, and I also had like everybody else in the shop. I think, and then also the support from the friends, like because they see the progress, I think they see the progress and stuff like that. So I think with that, it gave me a lot more confidence into like, okay, like I know that I have like room for improvement, but because of these, because they're telling me these things too, though, that I like, it pushed me to feel that way though. You know what I'm saying?
Reinforce.
Because I think without that support, we're like, hey man, like, hey, you're getting better. Or like, oh, I see, your progress. I think if you don't have that type of support, then you're always going to beat yourself up about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You need someone who's better than you, first of all, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
The truth, whether it's like, yo, that piece could have been better, David, or shit, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, you know? And not just your artistry as an artist, but also everything else. Like, hey, man, you look really comfortable. Like, I can see you look pretty comfortable out there in your chair, you know? Because they can see that. They can feel it, you know? David's starting to feel pretty comfortable over there in his chair, you know?
So you could definitely... it's your environment, you know, like your surrounding, like the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere really helped myself push to want to learn more. Asking questions almost every time I had a question. Like if I'm just like, hey man, like how, like for example, if like I'm doing a design or I'm not sure if I could put that there. I mean, I just ask the question. You know, I ask Fong a lot. I ask the rest of the guys a lot because everybody has different inputs and techniques that they do. So. You know, by asking the questions, it really brought me more light into like what I could do and what I like feel like I doesn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? So, within that just same year, I think it helped with just being able to develop like, I guess, more skills.
As an artist.
As an artist,
So, and we've kind of gone chronologically through like your process because I was kind of curious. I like to talk to people about their process beginning because I think it's a commonly shared feeling and emotions of like starting something new. And now you go through all that. You work with Fong for how many years?
5 years.
Okay, so you work with Fong for 5 years. 5 years. I'm guessing you're tattooing. Eventually, I'm sure at some point it starts to be almost daily, almost.
Oh, it was every day from the first day.
From the first day, so you get your reps in. So then I'm sure. So then you do all that. You get your reps in. You feel comfortable as an artist. You start to really trust your own abilities as a tattoo artist, and then eventually you decide, I'm gonna just open my own shop, right? So that's the next evolution to kind of what led you to right here. And so, did that develop over time? Like, man, I think I want to do my own thing because some people want to express themselves sometimes individually, right? You want to create your own space so you can express yourself individually. Because when you work for someone else, and all credit to the people who bring us on to show us the way. You know, all the credit to those people because without them, we're not in the positions that we get to be in today. But at which point you're like, I think I'm gonna step out and I think I'm gonna try to look into doing this on my own.
To be honest, it was like maybe my third or fourth year when I was kind of considering like what I can do with my career at that point. Right. I know I talked to Fong about it. Like, you know, just kind of like, I guess, like dreams and goals, right? I've always talked to him about it, like, oh man, like I want to travel and tattoo and like possibly like, you know, tattoo somewhere else and stuff like that. So I'm sure like he had like an idea of like that was the path that was gonna like that I was gonna lead myself into. And then up until just like last over 2 years now, I guess, because that was prior to opening the shop up. But that was when I started kind of committing to it more, like, you know, like as an artist, you want to be able to express yourself and stuff like that. So I think every shop kind of resonates with like the business owner or like the artist who, you know. So, and I like. Don't get me wrong, man. Like Incarnate is like the place to be. You know, like that's the team.
Shop.
That's the team to be with. You know, and you know I miss them every day.
I mean, you know. Hey, no offense, but all my tats I still go to Incarnate. You know, because I've got first of all, there's that loyalty to the artist. I think you got some people who they just walk in and they just want to get tatted, right? Right. And then you've got people who are more specific about the art that they're looking for. Like for me, I know that when I saw Fong's artwork, I was like, man, this is great work. Like I want to go here, you know? And so I first got my tattoo from him like maybe 8 years ago, and I always go back to him. But sometimes there's that loyalty to a tattoo, not just the shop, mostly the artist. Mostly the artist. Yeah. But it's nice when you get to develop your own like this because now you get to portray into the world what's in your mind, you know? And that I think is important, especially if you have a creative mindset where you feel like you have to express that. Like like if you have to express that and you don't, it's kind of like it's like someone's holding you back, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I would say for me in my business, I've always, I enjoy that part. And like, talk about that now that you have your own shop. What's that been like to like, because now you're learning something new, right? You're going from like feeling comfortable, you're in a shop, you got clients, you're pretty much good. You could just hang out. You could just hang out and keep tattooing there and then develop yourself by going to conventions and all those things, or being a guest tattoo, or paying for classes to go shadow around the world or the US. Now you go into business, and now you're an entrepreneur, right? Now you're like, okay, shit, David, now we got to learn how to actually run a business.
Yeah, the business part is
hard.
hard.
So how has that been? Because it's been a year, right?
Yeah, it's been a year. It's a challenge, but I love it, man. Because, like as an artist, transition to a business owner, it's a total different field. Like it's a total different experience. But the business side of it, it's a challenge, but I feel like it's an experience. It's a skill, I guess, that I want to have too. You know, because I feel like being a tattoo artist is like fully my thing. You know, like,
right. You accepted it. That's the path.
Yeah, like that's it. You know, but how can I go further, right?
Yeah.
Like how can I go further than that? Opening the business wasn't so much of like just having a business, just to say I have a business. It was more so of like the challenge, you know, like being a tattoo artist. The challenges are still there, but it's very minimal. You know what I'm saying? Like I've learned and I can't say mastered my craft, but like to the point where like what else is there now? That
what's the next step?
Yeah,
what's the next step? You could just stay tattooing, like you said, or you take you need to grow somewhere else, right?
Yeah, a growth. Yeah.
You need to grow somewhere else, and I think as an artist, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure that part truly never ends.
It never does.
You're always learning to be better, or because art is so broad, and because there's so many style of art, really you can never be a master of them all. And really, are you ever truly a master? I think if you're a master, you pretty much. Yeah. I think you should stop. If you think you're a master, you should stop. Yeah. So you open your own shop, and just you did you were you able to bring somebody along right away to tat with you, or you just got a big space with one chair and it's just David in my shop?
How I pictured it, right, like to open the shop was just to have the creative space, you know, like I know creating the team was, I think, the most difficult part, I think, because, I've been in a year and I have a Vinny as the apprentice, and that's about it. You know, I have a guest artist coming out and going out and stuff like that. But it's more so just, I like my own space too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking more about like transitioning into like a more private shop than a more a public shop.
Yeah, wide open. Come get a sunflower on your arm.
But I think it's just because of like me just getting old or something. Like me just getting old and me just kind of just be sick and tired of like, the traffic or whatever. And like, I just want to zone into what I do and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
And be good at that.
Yeah. But then at the same time, like having a vision for the shop was really just to have the creative space and to really, like bring people in that like, just so like I can express art through people coming through the doors. I don't know how, man. It's hard for me to explain because it's always like a battle in my head of like, how do I, like.
Well, there has to be an impression. Like I think about it for my shop as well. Like I used to be in a really shitty shop, and then now my shop is a little bit nicer. But there is that on the business perspective, right? So not talking as an artist or not talking as like me, the technician, shining cars or whatever. On the business owner side, there's something that you got to create, right? A vibe, an energy. When people walk in, they got to be like, because we pay attention to that, right? We pay attention to that. When people walk in, because it's our business, we pay attention to how people look at our space. Are they impressed? Do they seem like they're Does it feel warm for them? Does it feel like it's welcoming? Do they feel like they can come in and just talk? So it makes us have to work like inwardly on ourselves too.
It does.
Maybe I don't love to talk a bunch.
Yeah.
But shit, I'm gonna have to start to learn to be a little bit more social, because I'm not the most. I would say I'm pretty introverted for the most part, but for the business, I've had to adapt.
Oh, yeah, me too.
To be like, okay, you're the owner.
Those are the challenges that we face.
You know? Like, you don't talk. Who the hell's gonna talk?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's like one thing I learned throughout this whole, like journey.
Yeah.
You know, is being not trying to be like an introvert, because like outside of the shop, bro, like outside of this space, bro, you won't catch me. Like I won't try to let you catch me too, because I'm like really introverted, like outside of the shop too. This is my space. I love it. So anybody who comes in and stuff like that, you definitely gonna feel the energy.
It's your space.
But that is like definitely one thing that I did, like I have learned too, is you have to flip. You
have to. If you want it to be successful, and successful can mean different things for different people. I think for me, successful, there's many assets of being successful, but financially is definitely a part of it, because I didn't just start a business. I love what I do. I love my craft. I did it. I started it for a reason. But if it doesn't earn you anything, or if it doesn't earn you more than what you were at before, then you might as well just go back.
What's the point?
Exactly. So there's an aspect of it that requires you to adapt and create a new mold that is also going to turn a profit. Because if it doesn't turn a profit, then what's the point of doing it? And that's the challenging part that I still find is challenging to me today. Is how do I? You can create the space, right? You can go rent the space. You can have the space. Okay, now we need people. We need people to come in, and we need people to tap these people, because you can't handle it all.
Yeah, the hardest part is trying to get the artists to be up to par with like what they can do individually, because you can only do so much for yourself, and then for them to where, like if you bringing in the people is not the hard part. It's keeping them too, though, as a business too, though. You know what I'm saying? Like as a business, it's hard that way too. So for them, like, as a businessman, like it's really your energy, though. Like it's really your energy. How much energy you put out is the amount of energy that you'll get back too, though. Like I feel so
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? So like if you want your business to boom and stuff like that, man, you gotta match that
out there. And I think one thing too people don't ever talk about too is like it's not easy to come in every single day and have that energy, man.
Oh yeah.
Some days human beings, we're just human beings.
Rough.
Some days you are not even in your own head.
Yeah.
And then you got to teach somebody else. Not just that, but clients are coming in. They're gonna feel your energy.
Yep.
You're so close to them.
Yep.
You gotta learn how to turn that switch on every once in a while, or you gotta learn how to switch it on at some point in the day.
Yeah.
And some days it doesn't ever turn on. I mean, I have days like that where my energy never seems to flip. And sometimes it flips later in the day by the time it's already time to go home, But some days I wake up super I'm sure it's the same with you. Some days you come in with a creative ass head. The minute you wake up, you're like, let's get to work.
Yeah.
Let's get to work today,
I think it's for like it's also like my client's energy too, though. You know, like it's also the person that's like with me all day's energy. I feel like if I bring their energy, they can match it, or they don't match it. It's hard. Like I honestly think it's the energy that really reflects like how the day goes. Like
absolutely.
Like coming in, like if I'm not feeling it, my client comes in and they're full of energy. It helps.
It helps.
So match your energy. Match your energy. If you don't wake up with it, match it with the person. It helps, man. But
and as a business owner, you got to be aware of that.
Hell yeah.
Because it ain't like you work for somebody else where I know at my old jobs, and it's gonna sound bad because I was a firefighter and that's a pretty serious job.
Sheesh.
But some days you just come in and you're like, yo, I'm just coming in for work.
Yeah.
But when you're the business owner, it's like if the energy's low today and everybody else around me feels low, and you could feel it inside of you, like, oh man, it feels too boring right now. then you're like, man, I don't know. Maybe let's turn some music on. Maybe let's do something. And then maybe you try to throw up an energy, and it ain't the right energy. People ain't feeling it.
It's hard, bro.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge for sure, but like the mentality, I think it's mentality too, though. Like I think it's like I don't know. You have to love what you do to begin with. Like to begin your energy, you gotta love what you do. I think if you love what you do, if you can't even like, the energy is always gonna be there if you understand that this is what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what you're made to do.
Yeah.
Then there's no energy matching. You could be fine.
I'm gonna interrupt you because I'm gonna go take a piss break, and we'll start right over. All right. All right, so we're back. One thing I want to talk about too is, and one of the big reasons why I wanted to have you on my podcast is I like to highlight people doing just, having deep passion for what they're doing in their world, right? Which is what you were just touching on is you got to have a passion for what you do in order for you to give you that fuel to keep going. Because some days you're just not. Some days if you're not passionate about your job, and we see that a lot, right? We see a lot of people that stay in jobs, and no offense, I'm not talking bad about anybody. If you got to make your paper, keep your family safe, all that, I understand. Do that. But I'm always fascinated with people that do follow their passion, and then they take that risk of like, hey, let's see if this works. And so when you do that, you're forced to learn different things. And I know that in the past, you and I have talked about like, you're not just a tattoo artist, and you're not just a business owner. Like you told me before, like you're learning how to film a little bit. You're learning how to do podcast a little bit. You're learning you're reading books. You're listening to podcasts that are not just, it's not like you're just sitting here listening to rap music and tattooing. You're actually like trying to learn a lot of things. And sometimes people, they only see one side of us. And they forget that like we are trying to grow as well in many areas, not just what you see us for. And we also understand that to grow our own business, like, we got to read books that other people read, and it's not the traditional way by doing your business, especially in tattoo world or car world. It's not the most common way of doing it.
It's not.
But let's talk about that. Like, there's like what do you kind of listen to kind of keep you just motivated to learn? Are there like podcasts that you listen to? Or like books that you've read, or the things that like, what do you listen to that when you need that extra pickup to just like learn more things?
Nothing specific that I could like point out, but I can mention about how my daily routine is.
Talk about that.
My daily routine consists of just waking up, and the first thing that I listen to is I just pop up YouTube, bro, like YouTube, and the simplest search bar, bro. Motivational speech. I click on the first one. It doesn't matter what it is. I listen to it on my way here, like every day. Every day. And even though like, even if it's the same thing that I hear sometimes, because it's clipped. Like every speech is every speech is clipped and stuff like that. But I listen to that because it's always like a good reminder, whether it be like a motivational speech to like for someone to work out or anything like that. It's just that sense of like, getting motivated, I guess, to start your day. That's how I start my day every day, like every day. Because because it helps when your energy is not, you know what I'm saying? Like what we talked about. So it helps like bring up my energy and like, oh yeah, this, I can do this, or like, things like that. So it helps a lot. And just reading too, man. Like I think if you just take your time to just read, not social media stuff, like not
negative news.
Not what's on your mind on Facebook or something like that from people and stuff. Not things that aren't factual that you can't,
utilize. To improve yourself.
Right.
To improve yourself.
Taking your time out of social media to actually like reading things, learning things, like just anything. I can't really.
No, I agree. I did. I mean, I still do that, but I did that I mean, like I said, I do it all the time. I also turn on those videos just to change my energy sometimes. Sometimes check my mindset in as well, to get in the game. But also you realize, like, I'm thankful for YouTube. It's, there's like a wealth of information out there, and everything you hear, like you said, I listen to the same thing. I have like a bunch of books on Audible on my Amazon account, and I've listened to the same books for like the same 4 or 5 years. And sometimes it's a repeat of what I already know, but sometimes it's just I need to reconfirm what I've heard. Yeah. And when I hear it 3 years down the road, that advice might not sound the same. I don't interpret that the same way year one that I do year 3, year 5.
Phases.
There's phases. And the principles are always good, but sometimes you got to hear them again, and then they sound different, and you're like, okay, it turns your head, because we're always in different stages, especially when you have your own business, or in general you are, but even more so, I think, in a business, you're always in a different stage of like, what are we doing now? Are we trying to grow? Are we trying to be better with our money, right? Because we have to be better with our money. If we're not, our business is just a business that just turns money and you burn it. But you got to collect more if your dreams expand. I know my dreams have expanded to, I'm just going to do it by myself, to, let's have a team, to, who knows where it might go, but it's your dreams get bigger. And so you got to turn to those resources. Do you have a lot of people still in tattooing, or other, even outside of tattooing, that you're able to turn to a lot, that give you that guidance, like mentors and stuff like that? Or
not so much, man. I mean, I just look on like YouTube and stuff, man. Like, I feel like just growing up, I feel like like you're your own man, and I think that's just kind of like the mentality that I've always had. So it's just learning and trying to prove that, like, or not prove, but like improve.
Improve.
Just improve. So like that mentality has always just been like, okay, I might not have a mentor, and like I might not understand how to go about it, but I'm gonna learn somehow. Like I'm gonna push myself to gain more knowledge, so that way I never feel like that. Like I never feel like I need. I don't know. It's weird, right?
No,
it's weird, but
I appreciate that. I appreciate that mindset of like knowing yourself that you lack stuff, right? Because I think about that every day about myself.
Yeah,
I'm like, whenever I get a compliment or something, like, dude, you got a nice shop. Well, you got nice cars coming in.
It's hard
like,
to accept.
It's hard to accept. And sometimes you tell yourself, like, okay, I do have to accept it, because if someone's telling me, they're obviously seeing something attractive, and that's why they're telling me.
Yeah.
But if you get caught up in your own hype and you allow it to become an ego, then you also stop growing. So it sounds like you're a lot like me, where it's like you hear it, it sounds nice, you're like, thank you, but then in your mind you're like, but I ain't done. I'm just getting started. I have not even boiling yet. I'm not even boiling. Like I got to do better. What do you think for you that comes from? Is it just like they come from like some people that you looked up to when you were a kid, or was it like your parents that told you stuff like that, and it kind of fired you up, and now you notice as an adult it's coming out of you? Like where did you get that from?
Man, I don't know. I think it's just the way I grew up, man. Like it's just like no one tells you these things. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like no one tells you these things. So I think like mentality wise too, like, or mindset, right? Like when you do get a compliment, or like when you do, like someone compliments you, or you do something good and someone says something great about it, you're not used to it, so like you're always kind of just like blocking that shit out, like, oh nah, like I could do better, like just so. And I mean, obviously, like your parents and stuff always like do better. So like when you do something better, it's never good.
It's never good. That's the Asian. That's
the
Asian parents. It's never good enough. Which I always felt like was I always hated that as a kid, but as I get older, I've learned to lean into that too myself. I learned to lean into like, it's true. It's not good enough. Now that can also be detrimental sometimes too, right?
It could be bad.
It could be bad to the point where like someone might see you and say, hey, it's okay to be satisfied sometimes as well. It's okay to accept where you've you've gotten,
Yeah.
and taking some time to settle into that and say, okay, yeah. Okay, this is because otherwise sometimes you forget, right? And then you're just moving, and that's the thing that I always fear is like it's great to be ambitious, but then you miss out on like, yo, it's been 5 years. Yeah, my shop is big.
Yeah.
My shop is big. We're making money, but did you live in that process
Yeah,
as well?
exactly,
Did you just grind?
There's limitations to things that, like, like if you're so caught up in like even trying to get better, man, you get blindsided. Like you don't appreciate like just what you've been doing, So
Yeah. It's hard.
You have to bounce back and remind yourself to reflect. I feel like once in a while you have to reflect.
Yeah.
And really like think about what you have achieved, and then that helps you get out of that mindset of like I can do better. Where you can like I did do better. Like I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, because it's not super healthy. I mean, I appreciate the people who are always getting after it too. I think I'm like that, but too much of it, I always fear. My biggest fear is always like, the truth is no one really cares. Your family probably, right? Yeah. But the person that cares the most is ourselves.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So if you just keep chasing it, at the end of the day, you let's say you made a bunch of money, you're happy, but does anybody truly care? So that's the things where like I remind myself like, hey dude, you got to remember like there's more to it as well. There's more to that, Your business is you. It is your identity, but don't forget to also chill out once in a while,
Yeah, and then just enjoy it.
Disconnect for a minute.
Yeah. That is the truth though, man. Because what are we all doing this for,
Yeah, exactly. Some days I sit up, some days I wonder really deeply, like, dang, why am I working so hard? But then you wake up the next day and you remember like, I know why.
You remember your purpose again.
Yeah, you remember why you're doing it.
Yeah, it's for everyone though. Like I feel like when I say it's for everyone, and like when I say it like that, it means that like it's just saying like you just show the path like that you can do it. I think at the end of the day, it's not that you're showing off, or it's not that like I can be better than you, or I can do better than you. It's just, hey, if I could do it, you could do it too.
Yeah.
Like, look, like there's not much to compare, as far as like where we come from or anything like that. Like, I think it's just just providing that type that path or like that vision that like, hey, if he could do it, I can definitely do it. But you have to strongly believe that though,
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing to do. I always tell myself too, it is a little bit of that. Sometimes I do want to be successful in my own way because someone else is gonna, you're gonna have some haters. That's normal.
Oh yeah.
But then you're gonna have some people who might also reach out to you, kind of like how you reached out to Fong, who's gonna reach out to you one day. Like now you're tutoring, my cousin Vinny over there.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna reach out and want to know, and it's a nice feeling to give back too, to be like, hey yo, let me teach you the things that I've done, and let me tell you what not to do, like where you don't have to fuck up, and you can learn a little faster than me by not doing these things. Yeah. There's something nice about that because it's intimate. It's intimate. You're really trying to make somebody better, and it's not like you want nothing out of that, right? Yep, you just want them to be like, let me just help you, guide you, because other people have done it for me, and I want to kind of do it back.
Just giving it
it's
back.
Just reciprocal, right?
It's inspiring and towards that direction. So
for sure. All right, well we're at like an hour and some change. Before we end, any shout out that you want to give to anybody, or what should people know where you're located exactly, and how can they find you and your work and more about you?
Well, I mean,
Instagram is
Ink by West. That's INKDBY West.
Okay.
And the shop is Overtime Tattoo Collective in 37 Little Canada Road East.
Yeah, right off the highway.
Right across
from
you.
Yeah, right across from my shop.
Man.
Yeah.
Basically neighbors.
Yeah. But before we end, man, I just want to say thanks for coming on my podcast. Thanks for sharing your story too, because I think it's a less traveled road what you're doing right now, not just as an entrepreneur, but in your world of like being a tattoo artist and it's cool for you to share your story, to put it out there, because there's maybe, who knows, maybe no one's listening, and that's cool, but maybe one person is listening and say, hey, you know, maybe I can reach out to David, or David is showing me that, like, hey, he's struggling like I might be when I'm new to something, you know. And so you're showing that example out there that it is doable, and it's not all sunshine. It's also struggles.
It is.
It's up and down, but you're out here trying to do something that you're passionate about, and that's something that I'm always big about. Is like, I love when people do passionate things, because you don't have to ask them for that. You can tell when somebody's passionate, right? You can tell.
Definitely tell.
You can tell. So, all right, I think I'm gonna close it off here. Once again, thanks again for being on the podcast, bro. Might have to do it over again, and I wish you maximum success, both as a boss, as an entrepreneur, and as an artist yourself, man.
You too, bro.
All right, thanks. Hell yeah.